This video is sponsored by War Thunder. So guys, Game Pass has truly been the best it's ever been, and it's harder to make choices on what to play with so many games. That's why I think I have the best 25 Game Pass games you can play this fall, including some hidden gems. I'm Sonny, your host here at Xbox Central, and we're going to kick this off with a game that's never been on this list, on my list anyways, before, and that's Lies of P. And the reason this game's on here is because I think it's carved its own niche in the genre, ruled by games like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. And I went into this game thinking that it was going to be a little bit more forgiving, but guys, I was wrong. It's even more aggressive than Sekiro, and the combat is brutal. You have to be precise and on point with your actions or you'll get destroyed. And what really keeps you hooked, besides its gripping story, is the deep weapon upgrades and the leveling system. It's really so rich and satisfying that despite the difficulty, you'll just keep wanting to play this even more. Now, this game was just recently added to Game Pass, and that is Mafia Definitive Edition. This is the full remake of the classic open world crime drama from Rockstar, and this version not only brings back that gritty action and that mafia lifestyle, but it also expands on the story, giving both newcomers and longtime fans a reason to jump right back in. And if you've never played a mafia game before, think of it like GTA, but with maybe a little bit more serious, story-driven focus of the world of gangsters and how dangerous and brutal it can be, and you'll be taking on deadly jobs and carrying out hits and getting into some intense high-speed chases and really living that ultimate gangster life. And with that, I do have a game that's quite different from the rest of this list, and it's one that you certainly don't want to miss. Now guys, there's a game that isn't on Game Pass, but it's actually completely free and anyone can play this. If you love a non-stop action and vehicle combat, there is no better than War Thunder. This is a game where you control over 2,500 tanks, helicopters, and planes and ships from 10 different nations, and this can be as wide as biplanes and armored cars of the 1920s to fighter jets and battle tanks of today. Not only that, War Thunder offers a variety of game modes, each bringing that flavor of combat realism to the next level. Arcade is fast-paced with vehicle combat turned up, simulator mode gets rid of the guardrails and it gives you that ultimate challenge, and realistic mode offers that blend of intensity but keeping it authentic, mixed with that ultra-realistic graphics, the authentic sounds. Guys, you are missing out if you don't hop in and join over 70 million players who are battling it out today in epic vehicle combat. Now guys, this game is free, and on top of that, there is a massive bonus pack available for new and returning players, which contains premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decorator. And there's a reason that I'm talking about War Thunder in this video, because I do think this is one of the best games that you can play on Xbox or any other platform. If you want fast, adrenaline pumping gameplay, it honestly gets no better. This is now available across PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Click that link below to get some of these awesome exclusive perks and go ahead and play some War Thunder today. Our next game is Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun plus its new expansion, Forges of Corruption, and this has certainly brought the game back to the FPS community. And while it's been a minute, people are really still talking about this, and which is why I really think it deserves our attention too, because especially if you're looking for a shooter with like less talking and just nothing but action, this game is all about wreaking havoc on anything and everything that stands in your way. Now the gunplay here is brilliant, letting you mow down hordes of enemies with a variety of weapons, and the levels might get a little bit repetitive at times, but the enemy variety more than kind of makes up for that, really keeping you hooked to the action and really focused on that combat really more than anything. So Persona 3 Reload just got this awesome expansion called Aegis the Answer, and it's packed with tons of new content. The DLC adds over 30 hours of gameplay, wrapping up the story with some emotional new twist and drama that I'm certainly not going to ruin. Plus you'll also get some fresh new content, including new costumes, music, and more. And this of course is already on Game Pass, so if you're looking for more adventures in the Persona universe, this expansion plus this game in general is one that you want to put down on your list. Now lately, a game like this is certainly always on my list for best Game Pass games, and while this being kind of like a AA game, the Plague Tale series has really blown me away, and the first game, Innocence, was absolutely amazing, offering a gripping single player story. But what's even better is that the sequel, Requiem, not only lived up to that original, but honestly guys, it really surpassed it in many ways. It builds on everything that made the first game great, adding new ways to confront your enemies while keeping that same intense stealth-based gameplay alive. The sibling dynamic also remains strong as ever, as the duo faces even tougher challenges this round, having new enemies, and then of course you'll be exploring more breathtakingly dark environments. This is one of the better games on Game Pass, and one that even if you haven't played the first one, go go ahead, jump into this one because you guys just won't regret it. There's possibly a very good chance you played the Mass Effect games, but if you haven't, I'd recommend you go with the Legendary Edition on Game Pass. It's a remastered trilogy that brings together all the 3 iconic Mass Effect games with improved visuals, smoother gameplay, and updated mechanics, making it the definitive way to experience Commander Shepard's epic journey. Now trust me guys, if you are into nothing but story-rich games where choices really do matter, and this is one of those games that's really emotional, it offers unforgettable characters, a rich RPG gameplay, and equally great action. I mean, this game has it all, and it's just one that you're gonna absolutely want to play if you haven't already. Now as a gamer, I know it can be hard to find a remake that not only revives your favorite game from all these years, but guys, even makes it better, and that's exactly what they did with Dead Space. The 2023 remake of the cult classic horror game is nothing short of a masterpiece. It doesn't just throw a new coat of paint, but it actually improves it in every possible way. It even gets rid of some of the annoying gameplay mechanics that you kind of saw with the original, really smoothing things out for you basically having the most ultimate horror experience that you can have on Game Pass. Okay, this is a game that I feel like is a bit of a hidden gem. I've never had it on one of these lists that I've done them now for a couple of years, and if you're a huge fan of Baldur's Gate but you just don't have access to Baldur's Gate, I couldn't let not adding Pillars of Eternity on here. This is really the game that's closest to Baldur's Gate that you're going to getting that classic CRPG experience, and honestly this delivers in every way. And this is a game that's been a fan favorite on PC for years, but here with Game Pass you get that complete edition and you get all the DLC content released with it so far. Plus it's also been enhanced with the Xbox with a redesigned UI and overhauled gameplay for the current gen consoles. So if you're looking for a very in-depth RPG, you want a little bit of Baldur's Gate, or maybe you finished Baldur's Gate already and you want an alternative, Pillars of Eternity is going to be that game for you. Now Star Wars fans have plenty of options on Game Pass, but if you're like me, you've already played Fallen Order and you absolutely need to check out a Star Wars game, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is that one for me. This one picks up right where the previous game left off, continuing Cal's journey as he faces tougher threats and bigger challenges in a very super expansive world. Now I really loved Fallen Order more, but Survivor really brings some of that same gameplay while expanding on the combat and that open world exploration, and it also introduces a bunch of new abilities that really makes the gameplay really refreshing. So if you're looking for a more horror packed experience, especially since like Halloween is right around the corner, Resident Evil 2 Remake is the one that I can recommend here on Game Pass. The original was a huge hit for its intense atmosphere, survival horror elements, and gripping story, but this remake really cranks everything up a notch. It's got stunning visuals, a revamped level design, and of course the ever so challenging resource management that you're dealing with as you play, and this remake really keeps the tension sky high throughout the game. And with this remake, you'll get to enjoy the cult classic horror like it was made basically in 2024. Alright guys, don't kill me in the comments, please. I want to add this game. Every time I've added this game, you guys have really given me some hate, but guys, I really feel now this is the perfect time to dive back into Starfield, especially if you haven't, or if you just decided to ignore it, because the first major expansion, Shattered Space, is right around the corner. This expansion promises to add plenty of content, including new star systems, planets, enemies, bosses, and even a brand new storyline. In Shattered Space, you get to uncover the mysteries that surrounded this cult-like faction of the House of Varun, and Shattered Space is set to release on September 30th. But guys, even if you don't end up buying the expansion alongside, Starfield, I really think that you're going to enjoy Starfield. They really have polished it up since, and it's a game that I've personally have spent, I think, over close to 100 hours, and it's really got that Bethesda feel to it. I was never expecting anything more than a traditional Bethesda game, and that's what I got. So my recommendation for sure, pick up Starfield, especially Shattered Space soon. Now the Master Chief Collection is an easy pick if you're looking for value, and it's even better with Game Pass. You'll get the entire bundle for free, and this collection includes 6 legendary Halo games along with all the DLC, giving you hours of thrilling single-player campaigns with the iconic multiplayer modes which still remain, and they're just as fun and thrilling as they used to be in the original, maybe even better in some aspects. Now the graphics are upgraded, the gameplay is smoother, and really the sheer amount of content is just impressive. This is a great game if you guys are looking for a thrilling first-person shooter, especially if you want to play locally with friends, as it also supports that awesome 4-player split-screen co-op. Alright, so it's time we shift our focus onto some racing games here, and well, the Forza franchise gives us so many options with Game Pass, Plus, you get access to 3 awesome Forza games including 4, 5, and Motorsport, and the best part is each one offers significantly different gameplay. If you're looking for an expansive world that expands well beyond even racing, Horizon 5's the one. Horizon 4 if you want more of a streamlined racing experience without too many distractions, and finally I think kind of my favorite, Motorsport. If you're a fan of serious racing simulations and you want some more like technical and realism, I think Motorsport is going to be the one you're looking for, just like it is for me. Now guys, I'm not really big into platformers. Actually, it's my least favorite genre, or one of my least favorite, but there's a game here that I have to add and I've had a lot of fun with, and that's Psychonauts 2, and you have to give the sequel a try. This game is very different from most platformers out there, which is probably why I like it so much. Now it looks kind of cartoonish on the surface, but it has a surprisingly deep and complex plot that's both gripping and actually full of humor. You play as Raz. This is a guy with unique psychic abilities that allow him to dive into people's mind to solve mysteries and take on some seriously creative enemies along the way. And while the combat is pretty fun and diverse, the platforming here definitely takes the crown. The mechanics are super tight and satisfying, and it's got tons of variety that's going to really keep you engaged for a ton of hours. Now the Monster Hunter series has created its very own community with games that might seem kind of niche, but they offer the best action role-playing game experience you can have. And of course, staying true to its roots, Rise offers some intense action-packed combat with enough variety in weapons and enemy design that you'll never want to really stop playing, and it gets even better with friends as Rise lets you team up with 3 other players to hunt these massive monsters together. And the best part is, guys, it doesn't require you to be a master gamer to get started. You can learn as you go, but it will get increasingly tougher, and honestly it'll get even more fun. The game Tunic is a hidden gem that I really feel like deserves a lot more attention. It's an action adventure game that gives you kind of the freedom of Zelda, but it's got the combat that is no less challenging than a Souls-like. But before I recommend this one, you got to understand that it's not a game that's really easy to get into. Actually, the game gives you absolutely no direction at all. You have to figure things out as you go, which takes some time considering you have to do a lot of exploring around, interacting with the environments, and of course you'll be fighting very challenging enemies. But as you progress, you get these pages that kind of help you uncover the mystery of the unknown world piece by piece. And guess what? These pages are not something you read like normal letters. It's really fascinating and it's really interesting, and I think this is a game worth giving a shot, especially if you kind of want that Zelda-like experience but you wanted an Xbox. As you guys know, Sea of Thieves has been around for a long time on Game Pass, and it's got some pretty great updates since though. And this game isn't perfect by any means, but it's hands down the most fun pirate game that exists. It's a sandbox adventure that lets you do all kinds of fun things, especially with friends. You can sail together as a crew, you can fight intense naval battles, you can explore treasures and take on quests, and explore some really rich new lore and a lot more. Okay, this is a game that is truly the definition of a hidden gem that I wanted to add to this game. This is a game for those who love cards, but guys, I'm actually somebody who doesn't like card games, and let me tell you, I have poured a ton of hours into this game, and I feel like that kind of speaks volumes. I'm talking about Slay the Spire. This is a brilliant roguelike deck building game that offers a one-of-a-kind experience, and really the concept is simple, guys. Trust me, it is not complicated. You fight your way through a multi-floor tower filled with increasingly challenging enemies, aiming to reach to the top. As you defeat those monsters, you unlock new cards with powerful abilities, and it really keeps the battles fun and refreshing. But what really makes it so addicting is how brilliantly it's executed. The strategy involved with each card and decision is really deep, and it runs and feels very different, really keeping you hooked for hundreds of hours. And another thing I want to add, one last thing, it is very simple. It's deep but simple and easy to understand, which is sometimes why I kind of run away from these games. This one is a great one to play, and if you haven't tried Slay the Spire, give it a shot. Now the Ori series is the best in the business when it comes to 2D action platformers, and the fact that we get to play both the Blind Forest and Will of the Wisp on Game Pass I feel is amazing. These games are a masterclass in storytelling, world building, and of course even platforming. There's no picking one really over the other. You absolutely should play both because they are both equally great, at least while we wait for the Hollow Knight to drop the next one, because we've been waiting for that one for a while. So if you haven't tried the Ori series, you're going to want to give this one a shot. Alright, so we can't have one controversial game on here, we gotta have two, and Diablo 4 I feel is that game. I think this is a fantastic pick for anyone who really loves ARPGs, and while I've mentioned a couple times in this video on games that I think are my least favorite genre, I don't think, but they are, this one's actually my most favorite genre. And with the recent seasonal updates, there's a lot more to this game that you can jump into and play with right now. The core campaign, the story, and the game world are also simply top top tier here. If you haven't played it, you're really in for about hundreds of hours of gameplay, filled with brutal combat, rich lore, and an addictive loot system. Plus, there's really more to come down the future. So far, it's definitely got a lot of, stuff that's mixed with fans and people like myself who there's some decisions that weren't the best, but even with all these mixed reactions, the base experience for me is strong enough to say, hey, this game's amazing and I think it'll keep you hooked for a long time. Now, Octopath Traveler 2 is a sequel that's been done right. It's a brilliant follow-up to one of my favorite JRPGs, which, by the way, is also available on Game Pass. Both of these games are seriously amazing, letting you play as 8 different characters with their own unique stories and abilities and goals, and you get to freely switch between them to interact with NPCs in different ways. You also engage in some intense turn-based combat with enemies using different gear. And let me tell you guys, this is some of the best turn-based done right, as I'm not typically a big fan of turn-based. I like more action-packed, but this is almost like, if it makes any sense, turn-based that's almost very quick and fast, and it almost feels like it's action-y, I should say. And really guys, this sequel only got better, connecting these stories in a way that makes more sense and really keeps you engaged all the way to the very end. Now, for someone who loves survival sandbox games, maybe like Minecraft or Terraria, you're going to want to check out Core Keeper. It was recently released and it's already left quite an impact on players, getting tons of overwhelmingly positive reviews, and for good reasons. It offers a rich mix of activities, including mining, crafting, farming, and exploring in a procedurally generated underground world. And this game, honestly, it possibly offers you hundreds of hours of playtime, so this is one you're not going to want to miss. And it's a new game that's on these lists, and I think it's yet another hidden gem. Alright, so I can't make one of these lists without adding my absolute favorite franchise of all time, and that's never going to change. And that is, we're going to go with the Fallout games, especially Fallout 4 here. But seeing how everyone has loved Fallout games for different reasons, really the great thing is Game Pass gives us all the choices. You can find 4 of the best Fallout games, including Fallout 3, 4, New Vegas, and 76. And guess what? I recommend every single one of them. New Vegas is my absolute favorite. Now, if you actually have a friend to play or want to play a post-apocalyptic experience with, go with Fallout 76, because this has been amazing since all the updates, and I actually kind of dislike this one the most, but now I freaking love it too. If you're going solo though and you want a challenge, I think you can't go wrong with the most modern Fallout, and that's Fallout 4 and its awesome survival mode. That thing is a whole different beast. It's brutal but super fun, and this one has remained one of my favorites right along New Vegas, so go check out some Fallout games. Now, another series that's made it hard for me to pick just one game, and that franchise is Gears of War. I mean, you pretty much have all the mainline entire series available on Game Pass. Each one has its own fan base, but if you are new to this popular third-person shooter, I would actually highly recommend go and play the original trilogy. You will get to experience some of the best single-player and multiplayer shooting experiences with memorable stories, iconic cover-based gunplay mechanics, brilliant atmosphere, and a lot more. Or if you're maybe actually more into turn-based combat, go with Tactics. It's got that same intense action, but with a little bit of a tactical twist. That brings me to our final game, and that's Remnant 2, and this has really grown on me lately. I've been having a fun with the amazing mix of the challenging Souls-like gameplay, the thrilling looter-shooter elements that go alongside with it. You get to fight all these gruesome monsters while exploring these dark environments through a post-apocalyptic world, and I have to give it to the devs for making this unique mix work so brilliantly. What I love the most is that you get to play cooperatively with friends as well. Instead of just going solo on these high-stake quests, you can play with someone else, or you can go solo if that's your jam. This is a super replayable game as well, and thanks to its procedurally generated levels and huge variety of weapons and customization options, Remnant 2 is one of the very best Game Pass games you can play today. And with that, if you guys click that link below, you get a massive bonus pack for War Thunder that contains premium vehicles and an exclusive vehicle decorator, and of course, it's free to play.